Sometimes you really have to watch what you wish for. A little while ago, last month, 2 months ago now, I did a review of a independent little horror film called Black Pumpkin. I liked that movie a lot, and I thought it would be a good idea to see more of its lead character, Bloody Bobby. And I said so in my review. I'd like to see some more of this guy. There's another movie out about him. That was awfully fast. Just 2 months. I scratch your head on this and say, what's going on? You know, it's something I wanted, but it's not something I wanted. A cinematic class is about to begin. And your professor is it. Greetings, salutations, and other sundry affair. I am your cinematic professor and the purveyor of truth in movies. Tonight's lesson plan is a film called The Legend of Fall Creek. And it's kind of an origin story for Bloody Bobby. Now, let's go back just a little bit. Back in December of last year, a movie called Black Pumpkin came out. And, it was a small independent horror film, but I really kind of liked this movie. It had all the right scares in all the right places. And even though there might not have been anything novel or groundbreaking in it, the horror techniques used were used well and placed well, and the movie moved at a nice little pace. I like the character of Bloody Bobby. It's supposed to be a demonic little kid. It was actually played by Irene Watson, and she reprises the role in this movie. Actually, reprises is probably not the correct term, because what happens is The Legend of Fall Creek is actually the first movie in the Bloody Bobby franchise. Now, the way they released them, you would think that Black Pumpkin was, and honestly, Black Pumpkin should have been the first movie. All of the people who were engaged with the first one, this Fall Creek, returned again in Black Pumpkin. And it seems over that span of time, they kind of got their act together, because Black Pumpkin was worthwhile, and this movie is just a hot mess. Now, let me do this for you to kind of put things in perspective a little bit. Let's take a trip down memory lane. Here was my original review on Black Pumpkin. We're all eating turkey and cranberry sauce. Halloween is a thing of the past, but that does not stop us from getting a Halloween movie. A cinematic class is about to begin, and your professor is it. Greetings, salutations, and other sundry affair. I am your cinematic professor and the purveyor of truth in movies. Tonight's lesson plan is a film called Black Pumpkin. And if you hear a knock on the door, and you go to the door and open it up, and no one is there, but you see a black pumpkin on your doormat, you have troubles, friend. Let me tell you about that. This isn't a bad movie. It's in the wrong season, though. I mean, we're in Thanksgiving, and they're still playing Halloween movies here. The film introduces a character called a Bloody Bobby. And there's a whole story about, he was a little kid, something happened, and now he comes around haunting things again. So, I mean, we have some standard fare there. But a Bloody Bobby is actually kind of interesting. I'll tell you a little something about it. Small guy, Bloody Bobby, okay? But, they put a mask on him. Now, the face of Bloody Bobby is shown, so you get to see he's kind of a deformed, deranged person. But he has a mask on with like a hoodie over top of it, and the mask is actually pretty good. The key thing about this thing is that Bloody Bobby is played by Joe Osmond. Joe's a girl, okay, but she's playing this little kid who is the demon killer, and it's kind of interesting. Even toward the end, when they manage to rip off this horrible, very toothy mask, you still can't tell it's a woman because there's enough like all over her face. She looks pretty good as a demented child demon killer. So let me give you some of the people behind the screen on this Black Pumpkin here. The director of photography is a fellow named Dan Rink. For the most part, he does a pretty nice job on this. Has some good angles when he's shooting the little, bloody Bobby thing. The John Ritt is the editor. He has put this together and kept it under 90 minutes, which is perfect for a horror film of this nature. And the writer and director of this movie is Ryan McGonigal, and he's put together a pretty decent tale. I mean, this isn't going to be an award winner by any stretch of the imagination, but one of the neat things he does about it is it starts with the killing of a sheriff, okay, and then it jumps 10 years into the future. Now, you're not exactly sure where you're at 10 years in the future, but it ends under the graphic of present day. So you have three different time periods that are presented in this thing, and how Bloody Bobby is making his way through the town and killing everybody. It's not a bad little story. It's a demented kid killer with a real ugly, jack-o'-lantern type mask, and toward the end, okay, I gotta tell you, in the beginning of this movie, when they're developing the character and the story, it's a little bit slow. It really is. But once that's all established, and Bloody Bobby comes out to his his full reign of terror, you gorehounds will like this. They give you enough scenes where there's certainly enough gore, special effects, fake blood, prosthetics, the whole 9 yards, that'll keep you happy and make for a pretty decent horror flick as you sit down and watch Bloody Bobby in Black Pumpkin. Now that you have learned what you have learned, you're ended your lesson. Okay, so that was the original review. It wasn't a bad review, and like I said, I kind of enjoyed the movie. I would watch it again. It was kind of a whole lot of hokey fun there. But apparently, it was the second movie. The Legend of Fall Creek was the initial one, and I guess because there were a few critics, like yours truly, who gave Black Pumpkin a decent write up, the folks involved with it decided to go ahead and release the first one. This was a major mistake. I mean, that first one was wallowing in obscurity for a reason. Let me give you the names of some of the people involved in this. Our cinematographer is Mark David. Our editor is Dan Pico. The writer for this Legend of Fall Creek was Ryan McGonigal. He also has a part in the movie as well. And the director was Anthony Hall. These guys are, it seems to me like they had an idea that they wanted to make an independent horror film, but they were afraid of all the task looked daunting, and they were somewhat skeptical as to whether or not they could pull it off. So as a result, they went camp with this first one, Fall Creek. Uh, they started off as describing it as a grindhouse movie, which was a little bit unnecessary, because the definition of grindhouse that they give does not apply to this movie. In fact, they probably break more of the definition than they do satisfy it. And then they start with that cheesy, open that Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez pulled out of some animated history thing from drive-ins, and they used that in the beginning. So right off the bat, you could tell they're not taking a. This is not a serious horror film. They're doing this pretty much for shits and giggles, and it really shows because the uh, quasi serious elements of horror that were present in Black Pumpkin are sorely lacking in this endeavor. Christy Keller is in this, along with David Vachansky, Anita Lehman, Kurt Clendenin, and as I mentioned, Irene Watson reprises her role as Bloody Bobby. She does a decent job at this. He doesn't have Bloody Bobby doesn't have the really cool mask that he has in Black Pumpkin. He's got some kind of stupid little hood thing. So I guess the budget for Fall Creek certainly wasn't as good as Bloody Bobby. I can understand them wanting to keep the character out in the public eye because it was an interesting character, much like the Pretty Boy character that was introduced last year as well. But releasing this first movie is really bad. I mean, it truly is. I had high hopes for the Bloody Bobby character, and my recommendation, as someone who has been critiquing films since the mid '70s, would be that you should probably not put this one on the resume. Get The Legend of Fall Creek out. And if you're going to do a franchise with Bloody Bobby, by all means, keep Irene. She does a really good job. But the second thing is start it off with Black Pumpkin because you had something good there, and you should grow and augment it from there. I know that sometimes you have to take a step backwards in order to go forwards, but this was not one of those times. Trust me when I tell you, this character is pretty cool, Bloody Bobby, but watch Black Pumpkin and totally forget Legend of Fall Creek. It's just not up to snuff. And now that you have learned what you have learned, here endeth your lesson.